Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Axel jam si Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Bisul mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Axina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave. Bisul mu fine? Wave. Your money is yours.
Over the next 1 hour or so, at least 55 minutes, unless maybe he says he doesn't want time to go 1 minute beyond 10 a.m. My guest is, Mamadou Sabali. Sabs, I call him. And
yes.
Many people actually call you Sabs.
Absolutely,
yeah?
Without a doubt.
Who gave you that short form of your name?
You know, if in Dongola, every long name has to be shortened. I'm sure at some point oiled in a P.
Yeah.
Mr. P or something.
Actually, my wife actually calls me P.
There you go. How romantic.
And then, others call me Pete. and all of that. Good to have you back here.
Thank you.
I've already started receiving comments and questions for you. We'll get to that.
They are most welcome.
But the talk of the town, the Janneh assets.
Yes.
I said in introducing you earlier that you worked with Janneh.
Yes.
So you would have an idea of what he legally owned or didn't own, because I was trying to ask Mahdi whether we might have seized far too much. I mean, the man could not have been president for 22 years and not legally own anything. I gave my example. Lowly me. I have a house. At least I have a car and a few other belongings. Do you think in taking away, we might have taken away too much?
Peter, I would not go into the nitty-gritties of it.
Okay.
But the principle of it is what's at stake. This is a messy situation, and we cannot treat it as a silo. We are going through a messy, difficult transition. And this Janneh Commission is just one of the commissions that were set up to see us through this jungle in this exodus to the promised land where we've not reached yet. So we must never forget that. Regarding Janneh and his assets, I testified at the Janneh Commission. I cannot tell you what he legally owned or what he did not legally own, but your premise is definitely plausible that Janneh would own a thing or two, either from his salary or gifts. But I'm not here to defend Janneh.
Even inheritance?
Absolutely. What I want to make clear here is I'm not here to defend anybody. I am for the truth. The problem with the transition process, especially the Janneh Commission, is that we rush into these things with emotion when reason and due process should have guided us. This is the problem, Peter. Regarding these assets, some of us, I am on the record, on Facebook, on YouTube, on radio, that the way Janneh's assets were handled was wrong. Due process was not followed. They sold some of these things at a pittance, shared some of these things. I said the Janneh Commission was not doing things right. I said Ba Tambedu, as the leader of this whole process, is doing everything wrong, and he would go down in history as the worst Attorney General and Minister of Justice in the Gambia. These are the statements the protesters themselves are sharing, and some of them, like Araji Kurang, they think that I would disavow these statements because I'm in government. Mamadou Sabali, individual, not in any official capacity. Whatever I said about Batambidu and the commission, I still stand by it. And all I am interested in is the truth, not name calling, not finger pointing, not trying to use this situation of young people who went out to make a legitimate demand for a list. And we have some individuals with political ambition trying to use that for their personal benefit, Peter. That is wrong.
You think this has been politicized?
I don't think I know, and there is evidence.
Ah.
Peter, I was on Heu on QTV on Thursday, at the height of the matter. I said, I believe the list should be out, yes. Do I agree with the protesters going out with a permit? Peter, I think it's wrong to protest by law, to protest in this country without a permit, and I stand by that to date.
But that is said to be constitutional, unless you don't use a loud hailer or, huge speakers.
It is not for you and I to decide that. It's the courts. And what is in the locus classicus here is that those who've done it have been found guilty, and those judgments have been upheld up to the level of the ECOWAS court. My position is it's illegal, and what I say, and this is, I'm going to use this opportunity to talk to the young people. You applied for a permit, it was not granted. Reapply, go and negotiate. We've done that before, even when I was in UDP. Some people have said that the government has persistently refused requests for permit for protest against corruption. I said it's a lie, because I, as part of UDP, we requested a permit for protest on corruption. It was granted. People like Alhaji Mahmoudi Kurang, who is a person of interest in this matter, who should actually recuse himself from this protest and gala.
He should recuse himself.
He should.
He should not take part in it.
Alhaji Kurang,
on the basis of what?
Alhaji Kurang himself, his position is that the Janneh Commission disposed of these assets without following due process. He was part of them. He did sell some of these assets. So he cannot be a referee and a judge. He should recuse, but he is trying to gain political capital out of this. What my brother did, Bob Keita, and Bob is my brother, and Bob is my friend. Bob went into this, a protest about Jammeh's assets. All of a sudden, coming out in the open to expose a conversation you had with the president through a confidant of the president, and your confidant and in-law, I, Mamadou Sabali, I am saying Bob did that just to gain political capital, and it's wrong. And Bob knows that the statements he put out there are false. President Barrow did not reference Usman Sonko in that statement, and Bob did not go to that Congress to confront President Barrow. I was part of this, and that's why, Peter, I'm talking about it. I will not speak about things that I don't know. Yankuba Dabo, GRA, is my brother and friend for 30 years. Bob Keita, to date, despite everything, is my brother and friend. When Bob made those statements against Barrow in the media, and things started getting sour, some of us went to the president and said, Kisa Halenla, ñun dinañ waxtaan ak mom. And Bob agreed to work with us. Bob, in fact, at some point was asked to come and declare that he is NPP. What Bob told me is that I will not make a declaration because I never left NPP. So as far as I am concerned, up to that moment of the process, Bob was still NPP. But when this thing happened, just like people like Alhaji Kurang are trying to use this use to build up political capital, Bob came and made statements that are false. My intervention, Yankuba Dabo's intervention between Bob and the president was to bring reconciliation, peace, and Bob agreed with us. This is the fact. Any other thing that Bob said is not true. We should not use this situation and the young people to create fitna in the society. Gambia and Gambians don't deserve that. It's a messy situation. Emotions are raw. Let us calm down, face each other, speak the truth, and follow due process.
Looks like we'll have to bring Mamadi Kurang to the program before the end of the week, given the several references. But if Bob Keita was trying to, make capital out of this, is that not what every politician tries to do, exploit a situation, however sad it might be?
The biggest politicians in this country, among them Halifa Sallah, did he make capital out of this? Among them Mama Kande?
They don't all have to make capital.
No, what is happening, we have politicians and we have wannabe politicians. It is the wannabe politicians
like Bob
Keita, like Esafal, like Mamadi Kurang, who jumped onto this.
Esafal is a wannabe politician?
Absolutely, he is. With less than 20,000 votes, you are not even in the C League, talk less of the Premier League. They all went to this to capitalize in the situation of innocent young people to build personal political. And I'm glad that the situation has started to backfire on some of them.
How?
The response on Bob Keita's post, for instance.
Well, that's the other party responding. That is the...
No. The response from the comment section on his own post. That's what I'm telling Peter.
Okay, haven't seen
and I'm sure, without a doubt, at some level, Bob has regretted what he did.
And when earlier you were talking about the commission selling part of the former president's assets, you kept referring to they. Who sold?
The Janneh Commission sold the assets. That's the Surahata Ami Ben Suda, including Alhaji Mamadi Kurang, Batambedu and his friends. And I mentioned this, it's on Facebook. Alpha Capital, these are Batambedu's friends. And the fair-colored lady, they are his friends. They sold these assets when legally they should not have done it. Even whereas, for instance, because the law can be messy, it's legal. The prices they sold them for, it's a joke.
So how should they have sold these assets? Or let's say, what would have been the proper way to dispose of these assets if that was the final decision?
I think there's a precedent. I saw somebody, a young man, and who is part of the protesters, actually. He said something very interesting. When the Algali Commission was set up, after everything happened, a government entity was set up, AMRC, to dispose of these assets. These people, in the first place, they should not have started selling these assets before the commission concluded its findings, because you are presuming everybody guilty even before they had a chance for the public to hear their story. The time they started it, the way they started it, I've heard instances where a particular finance minister confronted Bartambedu that, one, you should not sell this. Even if you sell it, the proceeds should come to the Ministry of Finance. They refuse. It went wrong. The answer, Peter, is there is a precedent. They should have waited for the commission to end, put up the right legal framework, and sell it in a transparent manner.
The argument, or part of the argument, was the former Attorney General's direct involvement in maybe getting some of the landed properties of the former president unfrozen was because we had this huge investor who wanted to come into the country, FTI. Surely this was going to benefit the country.
You know, some of us are not kids in this country. If I hear that kind of argument, my natural answer is, what went below the table? How much were you given to make you, to push you to make this such an emergency? Look, Peter, the law is the law. Investment into the country is guided by laws. Confiscating and disposing of the assets of Gambians is guided by the law. It is wrong. There is no justification for it.
Okay.
Axel jam si Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello? Ano lay waxal?
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Bisul mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Axina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. Ak Wave. Bisul mu fine? Wave. Your money is yours.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
All right. We're talking to Mahmoud Sabali. It's 17 minutes past 9 o'clock. He's here till 10 o'clock, possibly beyond 10, depends on how much we engage him. 7711599 if you have a question for him, or 9910959, or 9242424. I hear the president is building up, or the NPP is building up to a huge event later this month. What can you tell us about that?
Events.
Events?
Yes.
It's not just one. Okay, I was just reading. Let me just go back to the headline. You know me, most of these things I take off the newspapers. What does this one say? Yeah. Barrow to preside over NPP resource mobilization event.
Yeah.
May 24th. This is on the Standard newspaper.
That's just one of them. Yeah, we are doing that, but there are other events. We are also gearing up for the official opening of our national bureau headquarters. So, and in between those, there will be events that would have significant effects on the country's political trajectory, just like what happened the other day when we had the people of Lamin Village come north.
One party opening a bureau, and that has a significant impact on
absolutely
political
opening
trajectory.
A bureau like it has never been done before, building bureaus across the length and breadth of this country, all the regions of this country, crowning it with the headquarters. It's a significant landmark in our political trajectory.
Okay, you don't want to talk about what you have up your sleeve. Is it premature?
Well,
we know the date. This particular one that the Observer, not the Observer, whenever I think about Lamin Cham, associating directly with the Observer, it's the Standard.
I was former MD and editor-in-chief, so
I know.
It's an honor.
I know.
So, Peter, the point is, I think this is teaching us a lesson about where His Excellency President Adama Barrow wants to take this country. We must never downplay the importance of political parties in the democratic process. They are the very foundation of our democracy. If you have a political party with a sitting president in a ruling government, it's very easy for you to rest on your laurels because naturally you have a strength that you go with. But President Barrow is trying to make sure the NPP stands up with proper structures and with a sustainable, transparent financing mechanism so that whether he is here or not, this party can keep going on to be the fuel of the expansion and the progress of democracy and rule of law in this country.
And all these bureaus, are they owned by the party? I mean, the land on which they've been constructed, are they owned by the party? And were they legally acquired?
Because they were certainly legally acquired. When they owned
a lot of people are saying, I mean, this government will face bigger commissions.
I know a particular bureau. The owners were my in-laws. They sold the land to the party, and we built our bureau. President Barrow believes and lives by the rule of law.
And this is money that belongs to the party?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
This is not state money, state resources or anything?
Well, Peter, why would President Barrow want to do that?
I'm asking you. President Barrow is not sitting in front of me.
We've seen what happened to those who did that before. The lessons are clear. Unless we want to fool ourselves.
Okay.
We do things by the book. And the president, everything you bring on his table, let's do it according to the law.
Okay. All right. Anything else you would like to discuss before I start taking questions?
Well, I just want to say generally, Peter,
yes,
that Gambians, especially young people, we need to be a little bit calm. I know emotions are raw and everything. And this was one heck of an unnecessary drama. You asked for a list. You have the right to ask for it. Before the government responded, you asked for a permit. Permit was denied. You decided to go and protest against the law. I don't think it's necessary. This country could have been on flames by now, but thanks to sane voices, and I want to mention a few. Personally, I never wanted to get involved because there are certain individuals who I advised not to do this, and they went against my advice, and I decided to dissociate. But I know somebody like the PDOIS Nam for Serekunda, Honorable Cham,
Musa,
Lala Toure, the NYP Executive Director, Alaji Jaju, Mohamed Kanyi, and many other people who reached out. Alaji Manka, bro, let's try to de-escalate this tension. Let's make sure sanity prevails. Let's make sure peace prevails.
This was at Westfield?
At Westfield.
Okay.
They were calling all over.
Yeah,
and
because we had incidents in Banjul.
This was after Banjul, when the whole thing started escalating. And we all spoke, and the authorities also, alhamdulillah, they decided to go with compassion because definitely sometimes when you have a choice to be kind or to be right, I think it's better to be kind. So we've diffused this tension. What came out of it? The list came, it's not complete. Perhaps if there was a little bit of patience, the full list could have been published at once. But what I noticed out of this also, Peter, that people are not even mentioning, that these protesters asked for a list. The government of the Republic of the Gambia under President Barrow went above and beyond by sanctioning a full parliamentary inquiry into this whole thing that would establish the truth, and that is what we need. And my refrain in this, Peter, has been always, the Bible is right, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. When the parliamentary inquiry does its job, I'm sure it will not stop there. There will be recommendations.
You trust it to say when rather than if.
Peter, the motion, I think they are even sitting today to consider this motion.
Yes, they are, yes.
The wheels are in motion.
Yes, they are.
And, I want to thank our majority leader, Honorable Bile Kebalang, and of course, Abdullah Sisi and others. But even the opposition have now come on board to support this after the NPP took the lead. So this is a win for everybody.
Although the UDP has cautioned its members not to accept any sitting allowances from this.
Peter, I find it ridiculous.
Well, that's laudable. Come on, ridiculous.
Since when did they know that their MPs were receiving allowances? Are other issues less important, like the FGM issue or other sittings? I think we need to be serious and stop making these cheap political points. I just want to commend them for joining the President Barrow-led NPP bandwagon to establish the truth and address the errata. I want to commend them for that. So now we are all on board. Where is the beef? Let us be patient. Peter, what I like about PDOIS, I will always commend them for this.
What?
their insistence on rule of law and due process, regardless of the circumstances. Let us temper down our emotions, allow the parliamentarians to do their job and establish the truth. I want to advise the young people to remain calm and to remain law-abiding, that we cannot pick and choose which of our laws we should respect and abide by. We are all one. We are all brothers and sisters. Everybody is affected in this. Let's take it easy and let due process be allowed to flow.
The UDP was in Farafenni at the weekend, and yeah, some of the things they said there, I mean, were not charitable towards the government and President Barrow in particular.
Regarding what?
What we are seeing, the way the police handled the protesters, especially in Banjul, being signs of the country, slowly marching towards a dictatorship again.
So it's cheap propaganda. Anybody who knows President Barrow knows that he's law-abiding. He's not a dictator. And Peter, I've warned Gambians on this again on Heu Heu and QTV. You know, the Israelites, at least according to the Quran, used to have this food, manna and salwa, descending from heaven. And the Israelites said they don't want it. They want to plow the beans and the corns and the condiments. And, God stopped it, and then it became a punishment for them. Here also we have a situation where God has given us a peaceful, law-abiding president. People are constantly, consistently trying to push this man to the wall to become a dictator. But like I said on QTV,
people are pushing him. Who?
Absolutely.
The forces around him?
No, the forces outside mainly. A chairman of a municipality deciding to break the law, deciding to insult the president on TV, a mayor of an opposition party insinuating a coup d'etat in the country. This was all done here.
Insinuating
absolutely. Talib Bensouda at a UDP youth press conference in Manjai Bureau insinuated coup d'etat. I have the video.
How? What did
he said? I don't know what was the issue going on. He said, "Limo d'etat, coup d'etat, amsi dekai." What is he trying to push? Yankuba Dabo stood at Brickham and insulted the president. Let us not push President Barrow to the wall. Let us not turn him into a monster. Regardless of whether you take my advice or not, President Amo Bany Dufineka dictator, he's a man of peace. He's Africa's most peaceful president. Why? Regarding UDP. UDP does not have the moral authority to criticize President Barrow and NPP on this Janneh assets issue. When the commission was being formed, UDP was part and parcel of this coalition government, and UDP was the major stakeholder, and they were calling the shots in this government. And even by a casual look at the composition of the Janneh Commission, you will know that the key players are all associated with UDP. Tambedu, who I have criticized and I still criticize, is celebrated by the UDP to date. To date, they still celebrate. He is part of them. They don't have the moral authority to criticize President Barrow on this matter. UDP should apologize to Gambians because they were part of the group that rushed with emotions, with obvious desire for revenge. That's what led to all these missteps that went through, and now we have a mess to correct together. Let us calm down. Let us stop the finger pointing and name calling. Let us chart a path to get through out of this. And Peter, hold on. I want to say this. I believe one of the reasons that the government was taking its time in releasing these leaks, Peter, assets were seized. People went and bought assets. Now you're coming out to produce a list. What would be the interpretation of that if you don't do it with caution, that an innocent Peter Gomez, who had an auction and went and bought an asset, you should be careful in portraying Peter as somebody who came and did something wrong. Like my man, Nyang Jai, who was also trying to piggyback on this to create political capital. He was one of the people who bought this assets for a pittance. Range Rover for 150,000, Jenu Loko Denko Sacha. But Nyang was complaining that nobody should accuse him. He bought papers, somebody think was sold to him and he bought it. So if Nyang thinks we should not point fingers to him, how about the other members of the list? I still remain on that position. The list should be published. But let's go with caution. Those at the receiving end, they have rights as citizens. Let's allow the parliamentary inquiry to do their job. Let's follow the law. Let's follow due process in the interest of the common good.
Don't you see any further role for the Minister of Justice in this? Okay, the Parliament will do its own bit, but what about the MOJ,
Ministry.
where all the documents,
Not
should reside.
should.
Yeah.
Good. I like the way you said it. Because apparently they are all not there. The Janneh Commission members.
You know more than I
The
do.
Janneh Commission members have some documents. So, Peter, I agree with you actually, totally, that the Justice Minister has a role in this. I'm sure he knows his role, and I'm sure he will play his role appropriately.
Fantastic. Ready for questions?
Yes.
It's almost 9:30. We are with Mamadou Sabali, right up to the top of the hour. Whoa, I hope we'll have time to go through all of this. Peter Sabali is undoubtedly a very good politician, articulate and persuasive. He knows how to ruffle feathers in opposing camps with succinct, below-the-belt punches and mocking parlances that often stick and spread. However, he seems to be effective when in opposition than in ruling parties. For example, he famously called the Barrow government a kerenkafo, meaning a group of squirrels. Ask him, how does he feel today when he hears UDP loudly echoing that derogatory tag each time they attack the NPP? I know he finds another name for one of his former colleagues, Teddy Bear, but this has not stuck as the collective tag he labeled the NPP then. Also, how does Sabali feel today dining with the NPP government, which blocked his candidature for National Assembly member, but kept his fellow adversely Janneh Commission mentioned person in office, in fact, in high places? Finally, ask him if, in the light of all the above, it is not hard to clean what you yourself believed and called dirty. Goodness me. I don't think I can remember everything I just read.
I remember everything.
Yeah.
I think I want to commend him for his...
Kerenkafo.
I must commend him first for his lyrical dexterity. It sounds like a poem. I love good language. Yeah. Peter, I was in UDP. I know what's in UDP. I was in UDP. They said all sorts of things about President Barrow. And a lot of President Barrow's opponents actually convinced me that this guy was not up to no good, that this guy was not competent, that this guy doesn't have the interest of the country at heart. From afar, I took it. Now I came in, I found out it is not true. So I regret all those statements I unfairly launched at him, and I thank him for his patience, his tolerance, and his accommodation.
Was that the first thing you told him when you had your first meeting coming into the NPP?
Well,
did you say, Mr. President, I am very sorry for everything I said?
No, I didn't have to because of President Barrow's nature. He received me with open arms. He didn't even show me the face that this is what you did. No. But out of my own goodwill, when the conversation ended, I said, Mr. President.
Well, the people who arranged, your meeting did a good work. Then they must have, told him.
No, that's not it, Peter.
No.
Despite all this hot rhetoric,
the man is just like that.
Yes.
If he forgives, that's it.
He's the person who actually holds grudges. And Peter, listen to me. When I was doing all of this, President Barrow, I met him on at least 2 occasions, shook hands, we laughed and passed. On another occasion, the very weekend that I snatched my sister, who was an instrumental member of his party, Ramu Sabali, from NPP, to come and join me at UDP. And I knew that was a painful thing for President Barrow. President Barrow drove through past my street. I was standing at the gate. The minister that I knew, they raised their windows because they don't want to be seen to be interacting. President Barrow lowered his window, raised his hand. Sabali, good morning. Oh. He's a good, decent, accommodating, peaceful person. So, based on the information I had from afar, I said those things. Now I know better. Let UDP clean their internal mess rather than pointing fingers to others. The 20 to 30 million that was misappropriated by National Organizing Secretary, let him account for that first before they ask for accountability in government.
You haven't addressed the Kerenkafo tag.
That's what I said. That's part of the things I said about the Barrow government, and that is regarding corruption. There's corruption within UDP. That's what I'm saying. Let them address that first.
Yeah, okay. This teddy bear tag, where is it coming from?
So, it's funny. So the guy is saying that did not stick. How come he brought it in this beautiful poem? Peter, another guy, yara defa def barke suma gemeñ bi luma wax rek mu stick. Mota ma de careful. Teddy be a talib la, and people, you know, unfortunately, they've got a hurry. How malan la ko def boy, ki how malan la ko def boy, ma oye Teddy be. It's politics, you know. In Jawara's time, they call him Gunja, and they call Sheriff Diba Chalo. So I'm old school politician. So we throw this down sometimes.
Good morning, Peter. Can you please ask Sabali about our tractors? BCC, KMC, and BAC have released statements that they never saw or received any tractor as stated in the document released. Where are the tractors?
I think they should call.
Do you know where the tractors
I think they should ask Alaji Kurang, because he's one of the people who sold these tractors. And I'm serious, Peter. Let him direct a question to Alaji Mamadi Kurang, who's one of the people who sold these tractors without the backing of the law, without following due process.
Yeah. Some of the text messages I will edit for language, please, so do bear with me. Let him not take Bob's statement to score political points. So you are scoring political points.
I'm not. Bob is my brother. And I said, Peter, despite everything, I still consider him my brother. But what happened in this situation with Yankuba Dabo, who is his in-law, both me and Yanks trying to bring Bob closer to President Barrow, and Bob agreed to it because Bob wanted to benefit from that relationship. Bob should not betray that trust and try to expose private conversations while fudging the facts. That's what I'm trying to correct, because I'm part and parcel of that process. I'm a witness, and I owe it to the President and to Yankuba Dabo to speak the facts, to clear the air.
Francois S. Mendy, Kunkujang Mariama, we love, you know, people signing off their names so that these things don't appear manufactured by the presenter. Good morning, Peter. Sabali is one of the president's advisors. With all this knowledge that the process in the disposal of the assets was not in order, why did he not advise the president to ensure that the list was released earlier?
You know, it's just funny where he started the disposal of the assets. I was not even there. And regarding the...
Are you saying you're one of the advisors? I mean, you've been advisor now at least for what? Close to a year, if not a year plus?
The list is being released, so where's the beef?
No,
we are going beyond.
Why didn't you advise the president to release the list earlier?
I'm not a legal advisor to the president. The president has several advisors. But what is happening, what I want to put on the record, Peter, is this thing of trying to get us back. I mean, we've gone past that. You asked for a list. The government released it and went away above and beyond to establish a presidential, parliamentary inquiry. Let's give government some credit.
Hello, sir, Mr. P. I think the reason why the NAMs want to do this emergency meeting is to pay themselves allowances. They should have done this a long time ago. I agree with the doing long time ago, but I don't think allowances. I mean, these people, if they want allowances, they could pay themselves allowances unbeknownst to the public.
Peter, I think we should just allow people to be petty. It's a democracy. Let them say whatever they want to say. It's okay. So if those that make them happy, let them do it. Let them call the NAMs names.
The problem we are all facing in the Gambia is that every politician is right, and we, the youths, with the manpower, are sacrificed for their political gains. This is somebody texting in from Nairobi, ML, obviously, a Gambian. Do you think politicians use youths when you bandy or the youths are happy around? Is that using the youth rather than, reflecting?
That is inspiring, motivating, reassuring, and guiding the youth to become their better selves, as preached in my books, Jangi Jollof, Instant Success, The Way to Happiness, as taught in my seminars at the Sabali Leadership Academy, as done when I get them jerseys and footballs, as done when I go to their convocations and inspire them and teach them how to become successful. I want to go back. I'm not done with the question yet.
Yes, this is ML. Okay.
Yes, I'm not done with the question yet. He said whether some politicians use the youth. Yes, politicians like Esa Fall, Alaji Mamadi Kurang, Rahim Malik Low, who also descended on that scene. Somebody who is undergoing an inquiry, and all fingers are pointing to her, came down there to further incite the youths. Very unfortunate. So the youth should be careful of these kind of politicians.
Well,
and follow the likes of President Barrow and Halifa Saleh.
I'll read you what ML says. The problem we all face in the Gambia is that every politician, Sabali included.
Peter, I heard that.
Every politician.
I heard that.
Yes.
The point is, ML and some of the youths, they are politicians too. Let him join the club. Let's be fair to the youths. I agree, ML. All of us, because most of these youths are politicians. Let us be fair to the youths. Youths, we are going to be fair to you. Hold us accountable.
We're not done with ML yet. Can Sabali please address the rampant corruption in the country and the advice he is giving to the president about the growing corruption?
We are always already doing that. Is he following the local government commission? We are exposing corruption and we are going to punish it as championed and perpetrated by the UDP mayors from Banjul to KM to LRR. We are fighting corruption. President is fighting corruption and we will succeed, inshallah. It's a difficult job, but we will arrive.
Good morning, Uncle Peter. Back in 2018, when the Dafadoy group planned to protest at Westfield, it was actually the same people that support this protest that were opposed to the idea in 2018. I can remember clearly a Facebook post from the current chairman at the time urged the government not to grant them a permit and even called for arrest for anyone caught. What does Sabali have to say about that?
Which chairman is he talking about? It has to be Yankuba Dabo.
I have no idea.
No, it is Yankuba Dabo. Because when the Dafadoy protest happened, which I did not support, UDP, then they were very powerful in the government. They were against it. They called these boys names. That's why Killer Ace will never support UDP. So, Peter, I repeat, everything that UDP was saying in Farafenye, if they are pointing a finger to President Barrow and the MPP, the rest of the four fingers are pointing to them. Those in the glass houses should not throw stones.
Peter, that was an unfair question. Janneh owning nothing. Yahya came to power through the barrel of the gun from day one. He began looting left, right, and center. So he owns nothing. That's a fact. Well, I beg to differ. You can't be president for 22 years and not own at least one thing legally. At least a pair of shoes.
Gambians and their emotions.
At least a pair of shoes. He can afford a pair of shoes.
At least he was a lieutenant in the army when he was joining, when he was becoming president.
Good morning, Uncle Peter and Sabs. Are the youths happy or not happy?
The youths are very,
is the question from Aliu Venga.
The youths are very, very, very happy in this new open democratic dispensation where they can break the law and we go back home and sleep in peace. Peter, I was in LRR wearing Garaba on Saturday, and I was welcomed with that slogan, the youths are happy. Yesterday, I was in Talinding, where 33 women from UDP crossed over, defected from UDP to join the NP. When I arrived, the slogan is UDP. I was at Old Yundum with Honorable Alajimbo, member for, I think it's Lower Upper Salum, at Serin Habib Toure's Dara in Old Yundum. When I arrived, the Quranic students, they all said, the youths are happy. Even Peter is happy.
You're not sure about that.
The business is coming. Contract young from nekani advertisements in your upper content.
Are you suggesting like Cow Yero that I have a secret contract with the UDP?
No, I would not accuse you of that. I was no. That's unfair. But you have legitimate contracts from businesses that are booming thanks to president's fantastic macroeconomic policies, and because of that, you are happy.
Oh, really?
Yes, absolutely.
So I should be thankful to President
Absolutely, for his policies. And Sidi Keta as well, and Bua Sidi, and Yankuba Dabo, the kings of the macroeconomic environment.
Hello, Mr. Gomez. I think Janneh's assets should have been entrusted to a trustee to manage until such time that the proper frameworks were put in place for disposal, suggests Ibrahim Abaji. Is he right?
Well, the right trustee. Yeah. I think, Peter, like I said, I don't want to belabor this point.
We need to be educated. I mean, we've made this mistake. You remember in 1981,
Peter, listen.
You remember the aid commission back in 1981, how it ended. Apparently we have.
So what I'm saying, Peter, what he said is right. But what happened is, at some point, there was a trustee. But was it the right trustee and in the right manner? That's where I'm going to. That let's learn from this mistake and establish a path. At least we have a precedent, like one of these protesters mentioned about the AMRC. So there are some, like you said, you're referring me back to 81. This guy is referring to 94. There's some kind of history in this country.
Yes, with commissions.
But we are not good at reading history.
Yeah.
We are good at pushing our emotions.
That's why we should, give out as much information and ideas as possible. So that,
I think so.
So that if ever there's another commission in future, a lot of people say, well, it's unavoidable. If ever there's another commission in future, they don't make the mistakes of the past.
I agree.
Gambians are not fools and will not listen to who wants to fool us anymore. Please take your cake and eat it. We will see the end one day.
Please, Peter, tell him I'm saying thank you for listening to Mamadou Sabally. I'm very proud of this. Big achievement. They're still listening.
Can Sabs tell us why the government refused to show us the list in 2023 and now wants to show it to us? Why now?
I was not in government in 2023, but I do know, Peter, of late, that there are certain constraints. And those demanding the list, if they are fair and honest, they've now found that there was not a prepared complete list that was sitting down there that the Attorney General could just pick and present to the public. So I think there were issues in compiling the list. The list is still being compiled. What should satisfy the questioners is that a first step has been taken, a second will be taken, and they'll get more than they asked for. They'll get a full parliamentary inquiry.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Axila jam si Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do dede. Luta mënuloo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello? Ano lay waxal?
Bësal mu fine.
What?
Bësal mu fine. Wave Axina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. Ak Wave. Bësal mu fine. Wave. Your money is yours.